Welcome to another episode of Field Notes, Insights and Observations for the Travel Marketer. My name is Eric Hulkran, and we are still live from STS Connections. And for this episode, we talked to Chris Landry, President and CEO of the Louisiana Travel Association, and find out more about this great state and its hospitality. Welcome to another episode. As I said, my guest is Chris. Chris, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
having me.
Thank you for the invite, and thank you for coming on. We're obviously going to be talking about Louisiana, and we are here. This is my first time in Louisiana, so it's my first time in Lake Charles, so
wow.
I'm enjoying all the hospitality. Let's talk a little bit about, let's start here, and then we'll kind of radiate out to the wider world,
Sure.
right? So Lake Charles gets this great conference here. For the state of Louisiana, and specifically Lake Charles, like, what does this do to a city like this when all of these new people come in and go, I've never been to insert place here? What does that do?
I mean, really, it just kind of creates a buzz here from around this conference in particular, is bringing in people from all over the Southeast. And so Lake Charles, while, I'm actually originally from here, it's a great town. It's a city that gets slept on sometimes because it competes so much with New Orleans, and anytime you think Louisiana travel, New Orleans is the first thing you think, and then it's football season, so we're going to think Baton Rouge, and Lake Charles sometimes can trickle its way down the list. And so anytime we can have regional attention here, or national attention, people from all over the country, and people can see, everything that Lake Charles has to offer. I mean, they call it Louisiana's playground. I mean, we look outside the window right here, and there's plenty of great fishing. You drive just south of here. There's a lot of good duck hunting. And Lake Charles is a great place to host a meeting. We actually hosted our big conference here at the Golden Nugget 2 weeks ago, and it is just a remarkably easy place to have a meeting. It's a lot of fun too.
It is a lot of fun. We've been having a blast. So before we get into kind of the nuts and bolts, Chris, you grew up here. What's the thing, if we show up to Lake Charles, we should do that we wouldn't know by reading a guide, right?
Eat. Eat. I would say eat. We've got a lot of great restaurants here, and Lake Charles kind of sits in a sweet spot in Louisiana, right? Because, for any of your listeners, if they're not really familiar with Louisiana cuisine, really when you get to Baton Rouge, it kind of cuts off and it goes more into a New Orleans Creole. Lake Charles and Lafayette on the western side of the state, I personally am a favorite of the food here because it's more of your gumbos, and on the eastern side they put tomatoes in their gumbos, but you get a lot more of the traditional jambalayas and boudins and cracklings and some of the things you think of when you think Cajun culture. They have right here in Lake Charles, and they got a lot of good food here.
All right, Chris, let's get more specific. Talk a little bit about marketing and what's been going on in the travel sector. Obviously, there's a fair amount of headwinds. We don't really need to go over those headwinds, but I'm interested. The biggest thing in every one of these conferences I go to, everybody wants to talk about AI. So I want to start here. What are your thoughts on AI? How are you guys using AI? And more specifically, how are you seeing the traveler using it?
I think that from an AI standpoint, from an office standpoint, we've got a staff of about 12, and I think that our communication and marketing team uses it in a lot of different practical resources. Like, it makes work so much easier, especially on the marketing side with press releases and things like that. There's a lot of things that you can get done much more quickly with AI now than you could just sitting there banging out press releases or marketing campaigns. So I think that for us, from a workflow standpoint, obviously it's helped us just like it helps everybody else. From a visitor standpoint, I think it's just like if I was to go make a reservation at a hotel, or if I was to book something, I always want, in the past, user verified reviews were huge, right? And they still are. But I think that now the AI aspect of it, it's another opinion to kind of take into consideration whenever you're booking something. And a lot of the feedback you get, from things in Louisiana that AI is going to come, that AI brings to the table, is just, mind-blowing, and maybe things that you may have never thought of, to do. So, I think that all of our CVBs in the state are using it in their own niche way, and I think that it's going to be something that's going to continue to grow and evolve, and I love technology. I love that that's what we're using to help drive some of the decisions, and I think when you do, sometimes it kind of puts everybody on a level playing field, right? You may have a convention and visitors bureau that's, has millions of dollars, and you've got a smaller one that's, doesn't have as much marketing money, and yet they both can use AI and it kind of level the playing field just a little bit.
I totally get that. For 2026, obviously right around the corner, what are you thinking? How do you feel going into a new year? Are you optimistic? Is it a recovery year? Like, what is your vibe going into 2026?
Louisiana has been hot. Just think of everything that New Orleans has brought to the table here in the last 2 years, whether it's been a Taylor Swift concert, the Super Bowl. We've had several big events in our state in the last 2 years. And I think that, this fall is going to kind of be the first time where we don't have something major,
Yeah.
Luckily for us, Mardi Gras will be moved up this year to mid-February, so that'll kind of help balance out some of that Super Bowl traffic. But, I think Louisiana in the southeast, I read something the other day where they think RevPAR is going to grow starting back in 2026, after a 6-month or an 8-month, hiatus here to end 2025. I'm very optimistic about 2026.
Last question, then I'll let you get back to all of the people that wanted to talk to you and spend time with you. In this industry, you tend to find two types of people. People that come in and think it's going to be fun, and then they end up getting burned out. And when you go to conferences like this, you tend to find what I bump into, which is the latter. People who are continuously energized and excited to be in these spaces and excited to do the work day in and day out. You obviously seem like the latter. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if you could give maybe a little bit of advice of how you navigate headwinds, go through trials and tribulations, crisis PRs, any of that stuff, without getting burned out and still staying optimistic and excited about this industry that we've all chosen to do our work in.
I think we are part of the greatest industry in the world. We work in an industry where it really doesn't matter. I've some friends of mine that are college professors that are going to be upset for me to say this, but it really doesn't matter what you know or how smart you are. A lot of the people in our industry are judged, and you'll have success on how nice you can be to other people, right? That's what hospitality is about. That's what our hotel business is about. That's what our CVBs are about. How welcoming and how nice can we be to our visitors? And I think that for someone, young, getting into the industry that has a great bubbly personality, it's the best industry in the world. And even if you don't, there are so many jobs within the hospitality and tourism industry. We started something 2 years ago called the Louisiana Tourism Fund. And basically what we're doing is raising money to be able to get in front of college professors and business schools and universities in the state of Louisiana to let people know about the jobs that we have in our industry.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we want people to know that if you're in the College of Business somewhere in Louisiana and you're a marketing major, there's a job for you in the hospitality industry. As a marketing coordinator for a CVB in a hotel, in a destination, if you're an accounting major, all these people have accounting departments at their convention and visitors bureau or hotels. You don't have to just be a hospitality major to become interested in our industry. And again, I think we are, the best, most funnest industry in the world. And in Louisiana, we got lots of jobs if anybody's looking.
Love it. Last one, and then I'll leave you because you said something I found super interesting is, do you ever see a day, and this might seem ridiculous, but I do think it is the mark of this industry. Do you ever see a day that niceness or hospitality is a KPI, something that people are measuring?
No, but I really think it should be. And so many of the jobs, sometimes when people think, unfortunately, of jobs in the hospitality industry, they think hotel front desk and hotel housekeeping, right? And those two jobs, while they're very important to our industry, they are almost like a first impression, kind of job, right? So if you're a traveler and you're coming, you're checking in here to the Golden Nugget, and the person checking you in isn't, fun and bubbly and welcoming, then you're going to have a bad first impression. If you go to your room and your room's dirty, you're going to have an awful first impression. Yeah. So we've got to let those people know that, hey, look, your job might be. It may not be the most high-paying entry-level job out there in our industry, but you have a huge impression on guests travelers that are coming to this area. If they don't have a good experience with those first two things, they're probably done for the rest of the trip. And so, everybody's got to have a mindset and be welcoming. I know sometimes it can be tough, and travelers now. We just talked about AI. I feel like travelers are more educated now than they've ever been, and expectations are higher than they've ever been. And really, it's not fair coming out of COVID for it to be that way, but that's the way that it is. And so, what I would say to someone, that's down or it's the sun's going to come up tomorrow, right? It's gonna get better if niceness and hospitality, if you can lead with those things, then our industry is going to be way better off.
I love it. Chris Landry, if people want to reach out and kind of pick your brain, where's the best way to find you?
Yeah, you can visit our website, LouisianaTravelAssociation.org.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Man. Thank you so much for
having
me.